Hello and welcome to this impromptu Stampscapes Live. This is a half-page reflection card using gold foil with a lot of cutout lanterns there. Took me a little bit of time to do, but I think it's worth it. Pre-stamped lanterns here, just cut out, okay? And then additional lanterns or kind of registration lanterns stamped out so I can kind of get the layout. And then those lanterns stamped out on the foil have those little reflections down below. So I just cut out the top portions of these lanterns, okay? And then I glued them right down on top of my registration impressions, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to pair this with another half-page slimline, long way card of this composition like this. Art foamy trees. Okay, this is a piece of semi-gloss, so this is just all stamped out on a piece of semi-gloss white cardstock, just plain cardstock. And then we're going to throw in a little twist here. We're going to use the full moon here that has been stamped out onto a piece of glow-in-the-dark printable vinyl sticker paper. And then we'll just pop that right in here, about like so, after I get everything toned in. So hopefully it makes for kind of a dramatic composition like this, and we'll see that moon will be glowing right down there in the reflection. You can see where it's wiggling around in there, so we'll get a little bit of it. It'd be a little bit more dramatic if it was kind of coming up like this, because we could see it in this area a little bit more fully, but then we have that figure there, so that figure is going to be kind of a little bit more of the focal point, or it's going to be a kind of an equal focal point to the moon, hopefully. Hello, Linda. All right, Linda. I like this these lanterns down here, so we're going with a lot of them in this one. Excuse me. I should have gotten a drink before I start this. Okay. Tonal transitions. Okay, so this is going to be a moonlit scene, and I'm not going to have a lot of different tonal color changes in here, but we'll have a few of them. Okay, so down here, I'd usually add in quite some filler, different types of imagery in here, but I need this to be, not too complicated, because I want that figure to stand out, and the more contrast you have, you can see that figure just stands out really nicely in this area down below without anything around it. So if I darken this area, she's not going to stand out very well down in the lower section there. So it kind of goes against my sensibilities in some ways to leave certain areas just blank. I mean, it's good to have some, kind of quiet spaces, but I usually don't have, little to nothing in certain areas, but in reflection cards, it just kind of lends itself to that. Okay, so let's see. Let me add in some tonal range in here. I don't want to do a ton of coloring in here, so when you don't have something kind of tonal, you can fill in with texture and make them a little more textural. And that can, it can just kind of expedite the process because you don't have so much area to fill in with color. Okay, so this is the Cloud Alto Cumulus. I don't necessarily want it over the trees, but having it over the trees isn't a problem because we're going to be coloring in the trees really dark and fully. Okay, so we'll go like that. And I'm darkening in some areas a little bit more than I normally would because we have those illuminated lanterns down below. So you can see this transition going like that in there. And now that's just less area that I have to color in order to fill it in. So you can still see the space around our figure is, relatively light and maintains that contrast that we're going after, or trying to retain, okay? We're not adding it in, but just kind of retaining it through our coloring process. I just went with the art foamies trees just for a little bit more scale, you know, to make them a little bit more grand, you know, whatever, sequoias or redwoods or something like that. But the smaller ones could be used, or any size trees in here. All right, so that is filled in. Let's start coloring. Let's heat set those altocumulus impressions a little. Okay, let's see what these look like right here too while we're at it. Something like that. And we'll have that moon in there, of course, too. So that moon's going to go right in here. No, there's a different, actually, not of the vinyl, the glow-in-the-dark vinyl. There's not a bunch of different colors. There's a bunch of different colored glow-in-the-dark paints. There's all kinds of versions of glow-in-the-dark colors. There's just the basic kind of greenish one that we kind of know of, but then you can get all kinds of different hues, like oranges and things like that. But this one right here just comes in a little bit of green. So in my kind of brownish tinged color scheme, I think I'm going to add in a little bit of green just to match with the moon a little bit. And by the way, so I'm going to do some things too. Since these lanterns are illuminated, I printed these lanterns onto the, here's my piece of glow-in-the-dark vinyl sticker paper, but I plan on cutting these out in the future too, and then sticking them into scenes like little glowing lanterns within the piece, and then you can have a glowing moon too. So that'd be pretty fun, I think. So here's a card that I did last night, just showing how I do these, color these little lanterns on here for cutout lanterns. You know, you can stamp them into a scene too and just color them that way too directly. But I thought just stamping them on the yellow paper to glue down on the golden surface like this, because you can't really stamp this out onto this gold cardstock like this metallic cardstock, color it in, you know, it's not going to show up on the top of that, you know, that type of gold paper, so you have to do it on something separate in that instance. So that is that. All right, and let's see here. You have any ideas for the new line, Linda? Anything coming to mind that you want to stamp out? You know, in anticipation of the new line, you can stamp some things out, some settings, you know, and just, you know, when you get the figures in, or, you know, the horses or whatever, just kind of stamp them in when you get your stamps. Sometimes it's hard to compose like that because it's like you don't know what size they're going to be. All right, so just some re-inker ink here to get some tone down very quickly. You can use a sponge, or I'm using a paper towel here. I did heat set, but it is going to be picking up some of that black. I think it probably sets in a little bit more if I allowed this to dry a little bit longer. But when you're going with this much of a saturation of ink, it'll probably pick up some of the ink that's already been applied, even if it is, you know, pretty dry to the touch, just from the residual, I don't know, whatever pigment that's on the surface of the you know, whatever paper you happen to be using. All right, now, so normally, like with this area up here in a reflection card, I've always been going for a lot of contrast. So like in these trees out here, I probably wouldn't make it too dark in the background, but in this scenario, we have those lanterns down there. So those lanterns are providing a lot of the lighting in that lower section. So you know, I'm not being too careful about the retention of contrast up in this area, or the retention of light, maybe, you know, more specifically. All right, let's see here if I can get like some little streaks in here of some color. This ink is pretty dry right now on here. All right. Inked up again. It's quite a bit. Whatever, darker. Let's see. This is the lightest color that I'll be using, so I'll have it come into the scene the farthest from the edge. And then as we get darker, we'll create a little bit more of a, or a lot more of a vignette around the edge. Okay, so the most amount of coverage that we get with this first, I call it base layer coat of ink, is going to get the most amount of application. So we'll use other inks, but it won't be nearly as much as this first one. This first one is really establishing color scheme, kind of your lighting scheme, you know, and it can do a lot of the work of the what'll end up being the entire process here. Yeah, the glow-in-the-dark lanterns will be fun, huh? The gold holographic won't work for the lanterns. I don't know. Why not? You know, probably give it a try. Oh, those ones that, you know, those ones that have those pillars might be kind of interesting to stamp it vertical on those pillars. I don't know if I have a piece right here. Well, this is the green one, but if we stamp those lanterns vertical like this, then we might get some of this kind of flamey look kind of within the lantern, huh? Yeah, that's a, you know, I don't know. You just said it won't work, but I think you might have just come up with a really fantastic idea, Linda. Yeah, that might be really spectacular. Having that flame kind of oscillating in the you know, the lantern. If that's what you meant. And if that's not what you meant, you should say that's what you meant, because that's a brilliant idea. Okay, so that is that color. Let's go in here and let's add some of this peel paint, and that will add in some of that. It'll jive with, you know, that glow-in-the-dark greenish tinge, maybe. All right, peeled paint. So just, you know, it's a aged kind of, you know, old-looking green. You don't have to, you know, don't have to use that, but I think that should be pretty interesting. All right, so just a little tinge of green within the color scheme. Again, it's kind of like a base layer color. This green right here is fairly light in value. Okay, these are the two browns that I used for the background sky, the alto cumulus cloud. Let's use those same two colors now to come into the scene to add tone, and we're starting to get into the darker tones here, so it'll really kind of anchor and establish those shadows a lot more. And I'm putting, going vertical onto the trees here, but it's kind of just this overall application of that color too. I'm thinking about that that holographic on the lantern. Castles and stone bridges, cabins and lanterns, stairways to nowhere. That's cool. The flame was what I was thinking, but the stamping the lantern on the gold is what I thought might not work. Oh, well, if I don't know if I know what you're talking about, but I did stamp these lanterns onto the gold, okay? But you can't really color them light on the gold in any way that I could think of doing it. That's why I'm doing it on the separate pieces of paper. Oh, and I tried to do like a silhouette on that gold cardstock, and I couldn't get a good impression with either StazOn or Brilliance ink. It was just too, like, silhouette images on that. I mean, we've done it a little bit in the past, but I just couldn't get a good print of it because it kept fisheyeing on me. Those blank areas in the middle where it like creates like a bubble resist, and you lift off and there's this big space on the inside, and it doesn't look like a clean impression. I couldn't get a clean impression, at least on this piece of gold that I was working on, because I was going to have a lady kind of in the water amongst the lanterns standing in there. I just couldn't get a good impression with her. It was just too much. Maybe it was just too much ink or something like that, or I don't know, maybe I need to press and hold longer. I tried a couple things, but I didn't experiment with it, super fully, because I wanted to get into this video and I still had a bunch of like lanterns to cut out. But that's what happened. Like a half an hour ago. Okay, going into the brown right here. It's pretty, it's a little bit dark. It's not too dark though here, because this page is really saturated with ink at this point in time. It almost looks like a glossy cardstock probably to you, but it's not. It's semi-gloss. It's just so wet, but it just comes to show people how kind of wet into wet really blends really easily and nicely. So use a lot of inks when doing this type of technique, at least. Yeah, that fish shine, I can't stand that. Okay, so here's black here. I'm gonna try to apply this. Maybe I should do some other coloring on here first to allow the inks to kind of set up a little bit more. I don't like heat setting this ink too much. I don't mind heat setting the impressions. I don't like heat setting this ink application unless I really have to, which I might here, but I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it dulls it out a little bit more than if I just kind of let it, air dry. I don't know. So if I heat set this, so that it accepts ink a little bit faster, I won't dry it fully. Okay, I just want to dry it a little bit, just so it's not super saturated with moisture. But I think that should do it. If it stays like super moist, I'll have to heat set it a little bit just so I can apply that moon over the top of it and have it stick, as opposed to putting that sticker moon on there onto a wet surface. All right, that came together pretty fast. I was surprised here. I was going to do a lot more colored pencil work, but I don't think I really need to here. Let's see if I can get a little bit more of a tone. See, I couldn't really get this tree right here with, using something like this. It's not a detailed type of applicator. Far side trunk shading. In other words, the moon is going to be in the center of the scene, so the sides of the trunk farthest from our light source will get a little bit darker. All right, this is like really, really wet. I'm just kind of like scribbling around and I'm not applying anything. Maybe I should use watercolor pencils, huh? I'm like literally like digging into the ink, the wet ink on the surface, like moving the ink around. There's like a puddle of it. Okay, let's take a look. All right. That glare on this will not be there like that. It's just so wet right now. But look at that down below. I think it looks reasonably mystic. All right. Let's see here. Let's heat set this a little bit. It is sopping wet right here. You can see it. Okay, still a little bit moist, so hopefully it allows for additional ink application. See how it's a little bit duller like that now. But that's the way it is. See, it's like shiny right here, but I dried it a little bit more right here. All right, let's go for a little bit more of that greenish tinge in here. Holographic gold for the light. Let's see. Yeah, the glow of the lanterns, huh? That coloring is really fun with them. Let's see. Hello, Cecile. How are you? I heat set it, Cecile. Like, especially like all of these images right here, just because I just stamped it out like right before I came on here. So, yeah, I allowed it to dry. I don't know. How about for you, Cecile? Did things dry reasonably fast for you? How's the weather out your way? I would imagine your area. I don't know. You kind of do you get fast drying? All right, so a little bit more green in these trees right here. See that slight tinge of green like that? Let's put a little bit on these rocks down here. There's just so much ink on these rocks. I'm not really having a success with the colored pencils on them. It's just a little bit too wet right now. But the alcohol pens are doing the job. I just keep going back. I mean, you drove out to that, but I keep going back to that Mesa, Arizona, Mesa convention, and just how fast my inks were drying there. That was a little bit of a different case though, because they had the air conditioning blasting in that room, which is drying everything out too. But I don't know. Things are like drying for me, like I don't know, 5 times faster than normal. All right, so here's some coloring like that. I don't know if you can see right here. You can see where I put my streaks of that alcohol ink on there, just from that different texturing like that. Okay, but this is what it'll look like, and it'll kind of unify with some a coating of Krylon acrylic spray. Let me go a little bit brighter here. Let's see what it looks like. Anytime I'm layering like this, like glazing these transparent tones, I think about this guy in my high school. I never said a word to him, but he was in my art class. He was like probably a grade or two above me in my sophomore year, I think it was. But he was just doing these like he had this gigantic kind of scene, kind of wizardy type of thing. You know, it was a big painting or scene that he was painting, and he was just glazing and glazing and like every day it was like putting another layer of watercolor paint on his piece. Everyone was working on different types of things. You can use whatever media you wanted in this class, but that's what I'm reminded of me of. So see these like green tones in here a little bit like that. At one point in time, though, I thought he took it too far. It started looking a little bit muddy, but it was like richer and richer each day. I don't know, maybe not even each day. It was like each week, you know, because he kept working on like one scene, one painting. Like, you know, it might have been like the entire semester. I think it was like four. I don't know. In my mind, it was like 30 by 40 inches, so really big. All right, black colored pencil. Yeah, it's applying now. It looks like it's drying out adequately. All right, something like that. It's got a little glare on it, but you can kind of see down here it's a little bit more what nuanced. Okay, let's see. On my scenes, it's all ink for me. I apply with makeup tips. Okay. Huh. Speaking of, you know, so right in here, I felt like if I went for some other colors in here with the dye inks, I think I'd smear or it would get too muddy in here. So I am going to, this is where the colored pencils come in handy for me, or one of the spots. Like with this, I can come in with like a tan or something like this. And this, I mean, I did this really fast, so it's kind of a little clunky in terms of, and there's this big space in here too. So I think I can come in here and I can just kind of smooth things out a touch maybe. With a little bit more of a, whatever, like a dry medium, I guess. I'm probably putting too much work into this area right here because it's going to get covered up by the moon anyway. Well, let's put some of this green into this brownish tinge, and maybe that'll provide a little bit of a whatever, like a color relationship with that glow-in-the-dark moon. That, and I can barely see it really. Okay, I can see a little bit more there now. There's a little tinge of green in there. And now, oh, here we go. I'm looking for that moon. Okay, let's see. It's a little bit shocking and maybe at a place like that. I probably need to do something to that. That's a little bit harsh up there. It's never going to like completely integrate in with the background just because it's a piece of glow in the dark, you know, shiny vinyl, you know. But I think we can get it a little bit more kind of in tune with the background. So let's get a little bit of toning on here. Yeah, very dry. Cecile, yeah. For you, I don't know. I mean, for you, it's going to be a little bit more kind of a, it's going to be drier, relatively speaking, year round than for a lot of us. Like even in your, I don't know, whatever the most with the most amount of humidity, whatever months those are, or a month or whatever time that is, it's probably going to be drier than most of us in our driest times. I'm guessing. I don't know, but I don't know. Yeah, Cecile, do you use a lot of like base layer colors, and or how fast do you go through like how often are you re-inking like your black dye-based ink or your main ink? You know, are you doing that like all the time, like every other time that you stamp or something? I mean, it depends on how much you're going to be stamping too, of course, but just on average. Hello, Christine. How are you? Yeah, yeah, your stamps are on the way. When did I get those out to people? Friday? Yeah, Friday, I think. All right, so let's just put a little bit of tone around on here. This is just stamped just straight onto the sticker paper. Okay, so see that little gray in here? It's a little bit, there's a little bit of tone in there anyway on the stamp design, but what I'm doing is I'm just kind of adding in this grayscale, whatever, component into the mix that's not all just black and white on here. I got to be careful not to go too fast with this because the vinyl printable sticker paper really grabs that ink really fast. So you can see like right here, it's just a really light, very dry application of ink. Okay. I mean, I have rushed it a little bit and gotten a little bit of a harsh kind of transition, but then what I do is if I get that, I just go and add a little bit of white over the top of it, white pigment ink on there. But I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to do that or not on this one, so. All right, that's a little bit better. See, that kind of toned it off like that. Let's see. Yeah, it kind of makes it a little bit more whimsical like that. It's one of those like photographs that people do with like stuff in the background, and it makes them look like they're holding the moon or holding the Eiffel Tower or something like that. I don't know what you call those, like a perspective shot. All right. I was going to peel that off, but I think I'm going to add in before I do that. Let's see here. I'm going to get a little bit more richness in the background. That looks really, really super, super streaky, but that should dry. I just want a little bit more kind of richness up in this area. Just because that bottom portion is, we're pairing this with a metallic, like a gold metallic, which is, it's super dynamic and rich. So I don't want this, it's never, this top surface is never going to match that kind of, the reflection and the whatever, the dynamics of that type of surface, metallic surface. But, we can kind of bring this a little bit farther along in terms of surface quality, I think. Just kind of get it a little bit up to, I don't know, up to a little bit closer so we have a little bit more richness and depth in there, you know, as a gold, you know, lower portion like that. That looks pretty cool as is, but we'll add in our moon in here. Okay, let's see. Go about like that. I'm looking to see where I want that moon. I don't want it on our hands like that, but I think I want this a little bit more rotated. I think I want this darker portion a little bit more up top like that, because it looks like it's bottom lit right here, and that kind of closes it off and it matches with that darkness up there a little bit more. I guess, I mean, this is like a minor little thing that's not going to make too big of a difference, but, you know. It's one of those choices that we have. Okay, I definitely don't want it going off the page, though. Like something like that. All right. Whether I got it in the exact spot or not, it doesn't matter at this point in time because there's nothing I can do about it. It's a really aggressive sticker adhesive on this sticker paper. Okay, so let's see here. Let's see. So we have that glow in there. I'm seeing if I have a kind of a greenish tinge, like a really light green acrylic paint pen. I really don't. I was looking for like a pale green. I have a pale blue. I think this is going to be just too lime greenish. So here's like the first time. This is a little bit of a warm blue. You know, not exactly, but when I color, you know, when I add this down here, I don't think it won't look blue because it's a little bit transparent. A humidifier in my craft room. That's interesting, Cecile. Yeah. Just because everything was just drying so fast. You know, when I was at that convention in Mesa, for a lot of that layering, I would adjust my layering if I lived out, you know, Southwest, and I would probably do, I don't know where it would change, but I would definitely alter some things that I do from a technique standpoint, just from the sheer amount of drying. But I love that drying time though in other ways, okay? The blending or something like that, I just needed more. I needed more ink, okay? Which, you know, I mean, it was fine. I would just, you know, I'd have more ink. I'd have more re-inkers. But I love the fact that I could go into my pieces and, you know, I can lay down a ton of inks and then I could layer additional imagery over the top of it with a really dark impression because the pieces were drying so fast. So I love that part of it. Especially I was using like things like the VersaFine foreground imagery and stamping them in really dark tones. And a lot of times for me, the VersaFine, you know, the water-based, I mean the oil-based pigment inks like that would take maybe like overnight to dry for me. Maybe sometimes even more. But there it was like drying, like, you know, completely dry in like a couple hours. You know, and it was probably, you know, dry enough to handle, you know, before that. But on some of those you know, the demonstrations I was doing, I was just kind of putting some my pieces off to the side, you know, to allow them to dry. But I realized, oh my God, some of these are already dry. Really fast. I haven't really been doing that too much lately, like VersaFine foreground imagery. Like VersaFine would be really good on here, like in the foreground, because it's like a shinier, almost dimensional black on top of dye-based black. Yeah, but in my mind when I was out there, when I got used to it and when I realized some of the benefits of that drying time, adding in some highlights on the sides of my trees, you can see that little moonlight on the trunks here, on the sides of the trunks. I said, man, I'm moving out here. Just for ink drying time. All right, a little bit of highlighting in here. See this kind of moonlight like that? It really kind of stood out. And I mean, it still does. But putting this light, this reflected light on the different objects, it kind of integrates the moon into the scene a little bit more. It's saying that it's not just this isolated, super light value object in here. It is, it's kind of it's a piece of the, or it's an integral, part of the location by having reflected light in here. Like that. So even like these tree limbs up here got, really dark. So I'm putting some highlights on some of these branches in here, or on some of the leaves. All right. Now I can't see any of these leaves down here. You can kind of see where I stamped them out a little bit. Okay, so like that. That's a little bit awkward right there. There's those reflections kind of stand out a little bit too much because it's so dark in there. I'm kind of thinking in terms of the reflections down here. If I don't have like something in here that's, that has some decent contrast, it might not be able to be seen down here. Maybe we don't have to. Maybe there's enough interest with the visual interest with the lanterns though, like that. Yeah, see all these little reflections like that right in there. That's a little bit too much. So what I'm going to do is I'll just go in and I'll just tint them or color them a little bit. So they might still be there, but they're just kind of, instead of it being white, they'll be that color. Or you can just go over them with black too, and they'll just completely disappear like that. Yeah, it's better. All right, but anyway, I think that is it. This doesn't look integrated up here. You can see all my streaky alcohol marks in there, but it'll look like that, It'll all kind of even out and merge when I hit it with the acrylic spray fixative. Okay, let's see here. Hello, Megan. How are you? Jennifer, good to see you. I tend to work fast blending backgrounds. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure I would probably work a lot faster, in a much drier environment. Or get that humidifier for the craft room. All right, let's see. Let's put a little bit of atmosphere into this piece, if we can. I play it safe. I start doing this white pigment ink in a very light area at first, just to get my kind of groove going with it. Okay. And then I start moving it into my darker areas. Now this area is pretty dark around here, so I'm going to put a little bit up in this moon too. I went from kind of darker to lighter down here. Now I'm going from lighter with the white into the darkness, okay? Just to add a little I don't know, whatever variation to that. Okay. Let's put some right over here. And see, that's like, when you do that too, it's like, you know, it's putting some of that moonlight on our figures as well. Again, it's kind of like that little integration. You might be saying, well, what do you mean that mist isn't the moon? But it represents the moonlight kind of reflecting off of whatever mist, in, you know, moisture in the air. Kind of like that. This little area in here got kind of uninteresting. So I'm going to put this right here. Let's see. This. Okay. A little bit of that mist kind of like creeping through here. And it's a little bit sharp. Let me soften that up a little bit. All right. Yeah, that's better. See this, like this little low line area right here. Let's put a little bit right around it, that tree base, I think. Something like that. There's something there. I don't know. Oh, it's a bunch of alcohol ink. I was saying, this isn't applying kind of evenly right there. That little chunk right there is a piece of or a little dab of alcohol ink or something like that. It's kind of creating a little bit of a resist. But again, the spray, you know, sealant will kind of even out a lot of this. Okay, let's see. That's a little bit too much. So you just kind of wipe off however much, you know, you don't want. And let's see. There's more pigment ink right there, so that's illuminated. So I need to put a little bit more here, I think, because that's, you know, closer to the moon, and you have it lighter here and kind of have it dissipate a little bit this way. I'm gonna put some of her, let's put one of her hands, one of her arms. I'll make them a little bit lighter. Her far arm, like that. So see that close arm's a little bit dark. Well, you can't see it, it's too small. But imagine her left arm lighter than her right one. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Yeah, see, it's like those little tweaks. Anytime, like if you have like a bird, you know, with wings coming out or something like that, it's kind of fun to kind of put a little bit of tone on one side, so it like pushes depth a little bit like that, you know, from near to far like that. And yeah, I think that should do it here. Let's take a look right here. Yeah. So, in the spirit of the pictorialists, and what was her name? Annie. Okay, I already forgot her name. I'm trying to think of that name of that pictorialist that I really like. There was a few of them. There weren't a huge number of them, but And Brigman, yeah. Not a photo that she took, but just kind of in the spirit of the pictorialists that put, I don't know, people like doing something, in their photographs at the turn of the century. There's my nod to the pictorialist photographers. In a The scene wouldn't look like this. The photos wouldn't look like this at all, but kind of the spirit of it, I think, a little bit. So, yeah. There we go. All right, so anyway, gold cardstock and those lanterns, that is really fun to do. Make it things easy for yourself, and I would just stamp them out on a separate piece of paper like this in these cases. Further up in the comments, or just look back a little bit, was Linda was talking about the holographic gold or something like that, or holographic whatever. But if we stamp this with stays on, these lanterns like this, and have that kind of that flamey looking patterning on the lanterns, that might be really spectacular. These ones right here are kind of mellow looking. They look like they're just kind of glowing a little bit like that. But if we can have something like this, and then we take and we rotate, around this card like a little bit, and these things are like moving with that holographic, that might be really, really cool. It just depends if we can get some really good impressions with like a stays on over the top of that holographic cardstock. I don't know. I think we could, because I don't have any problem stamping these lanterns onto this gold cardstock. If I tried to stamp her on this gold cardstock, that amount of that solid area, I'd stamp it in. I was telling Linda here, I tried to stamp like a real solid image onto the gold cardstock. And then when I lifted it, it was like a bubble of air, and right in the middle of the. I just could not get a good impression of her. Okay, onto this lower portion. I was going to have her standing in the water, with something else up top there. Couldn't do it. But these more kind of textural types of images, or just areas like these leaves right here. No problem at all, stamping those ones out. But just too much solid area, I think it just puddles up on there or something like that. So when we're stamping them out. So anyways, I think those lanterns, I think those lanterns on the holographic cardstock, I don't know. That might be like the killer application of those lantern pieces right here. So I don't know. I plan on doing, there's other lanterns in this set too. I just planned on just stamping them directly onto the scene, but this one might be a little bit too small, to do on a separate piece of paper. But like maybe you have like background little lanterns like that. But I really like this idea of these little glowing lights within a scene. I think it really adds just another twist onto these landscapes. Okay, so what I did was I stamped out those lanterns down here like this. But then see how I added those textures, those rocky textures, with the tiny rocks small around those lanterns like that, okay? And then I stamped the leaves right around in here on this lower portion, okay? So yesterday's piece right here was my kind of guinea pig, but I think those little extra textural kind of bits within here look really good. It kind of anchors the scene down a little bit more. I think it looks really cool without it too. They really look like they're floating on water though, I think. So yeah, just seeing where we can take it here with those added textures, and I don't know, kind of just playing and experimenting. I was showing Linda earlier that I also stamped these lanterns. I pre-stamped them like this because I was thinking, okay, if I'm going to do like a glow-in-the-dark moon up here, we can have these glow-in-the-dark lanterns in some other scenario too, so you can have or just have, glow in the dark lanterns, only, or something like that in a landscape, and I think that would be pretty cool. So have yet to see what this looks like. I'll do a post on Facebook, kind of one of those shots of this, and then I flip off the lights and you can see what this looks like, with that glowing moon in there too. So I could, whatever, lights on, lights off scenario. So it's one of those things. So you can have with those glow in the dark things like that in there. I don't know. People can, you give a card to a recipient or something like that, and they can have like a, it's an extra little twist to your pieces like that. We talked about like a, children's book, and like the Eric Carle one, The Lonely Firefly, where opens the book and there's this little glowing, twinkling light in there. I think this is really fun like that. So to have these glowing lights like this. This needs to be glued into place, but look at this. Doesn't those things look like they're really kind of like lit up in there? I think it looks, pretty illusionistic like that. And then when people open it up like this, they have the reflections down here. I think it looks reasonably three-dimensional. And then if the light gets thrown off, you got that little glow-in-the-dark, whatever, bonus kind of feature in there. You can stamp it on just a white piece of paper or any colored paper too that you want, but the glow-in-the-dark stuff can be fun too, so, and it's reasonable now. It was like really expensive a few years ago, back when there was like one type of pack out there, but it's a little bit cheaper now, so fun stuff. Hello, Jeannie. Hope my stamps do not get lost in the mail. Yeah, they're gonna come back to me with that address convention. It wasn't even in the right city, so yeah. We'll get that turned around back up to you as soon as it gets to me, though, Jeannie. They attempted 3 times, so I got to hand it to the post office, But it's like, all right, if it didn't make it there one time, out for delivery, second time, third time, it might be time to kind of, return to sender type of thing. Hello, Karen. Glad you liked the card. Yeah, I don't know. I dig this type of stuff right here. I like light within the light in the landscapes, but like I was saying in the maybe it was yesterday, it's typically always been, some kind of sky figure casting its light, that I'm trying to do within a landscape. But I don't know. These lanterns like this are really, really cool. I don't know if it's just that they're new to me and I haven't been doing that type of thing, or or what. But for me, I don't know. Yeah, it's like Geek Out City. It's, totally geeked out on it. So, yeah, I was just like so much fun with that. It's just, I don't know. You know, this top portion, I like that scene as is too. But yeah, if just throwing that extra little piece of foil down there like that with those lanterns, I don't know. To me, it's totally worth it. I don't like doing that type of thing usually, but for me, cutting these lanterns out, it's relatively easy. It's just, they're basically like rectangles almost, So it's like really easy cuts, and just some crafter's glue, and I don't know. Then you have an illuminated landscape. All right. Yeah. I didn't want it to look like she was like holding like a beach ball or something like that, so we put it a little bit higher like that. Originally, I had her too. I was going to put her a little bit more rule of thirds over here, and then I was going to put the moon lower so that you can see it more central in the piece like that. That would really be important to me on this card, had it not been for those lanterns, though. The lanterns, to me, are like, they're such a dominant focal point in the scene. So kind of having that, see this moon right here at a normal viewing angle, that someone would look at this at, you can't see much of the moon. I'd want it more centralized up here. But those lanterns, I think make up for that. And then some, so this is what it looks like here. And that really, see, and this is really excites me like that. When someone's opening this up and it's kind of dark in there, they're thinking, what is this? To me, those lights they really look like they're glowing a lot. Those lanterns like that. So, yeah, I think that's really fun. So it's like, it's one of those things, I mentioned this before when I'm working on these pieces. The less work that I have to do to get some kind of result that I'm going after, I like. So things like metallics and reflectives, we don't have to have some kind of like LED lighting on a card, with those kind of, those builds that people do that I love, okay, but I haven't really done those types of things. I bought some of it before, but I'm a little bit lazy kind of running those tapes on the back of pieces, to put lighting in a piece, or having like pop-up like foam core in order to have those LEDs in there. But this to me it's kind of a nice, easy lighting solution. At least it's the illusion of it. I guess the glow in the dark too is lighting too, but I don't know. Yeah, a much easier way. It'd be cool if someone ran some like actual lighting or something like that with an LED and back of like stamped out little things, and you dig a hole in the back of the card or whatever, or the foam core that you mount them on. I mean, that'd be really awesome, but we're talking about a lot of effort. Or additional effort there for those. So, all right. Thanks for checking it out. And let's see. Thanks, Linda. Thanks, everyone. Hope to see you on the next live. And thanks again for your support of the line and just the channel in general. So anyway, see ya on the next lantern, Stampscapes Lantern Lab.